Welcome, my name is Dr. Peter, and today we're going to be looking at OSCE. OSCE stands for Objectively Structured Clinical Examination. It's a more objective modality for clinical exams that takes out the subjectivity that is akin to traditional exams. You only have to listen to the old clinician tell you about their experiences from traditionals to know that OSCE is actually a very fair modality that evens out the playing for every student and gives all of us a fair chance at the examination. The content of the OSCE can vary. It varies from, it varies. You can have examination stations where you have to carry out a simple examination, for example, an abdominal examination. It can involve, a station where there will be an instrument or an appliance for you to discuss or to answer questions on. Or it can also vary to even stations where you have to clerk patients for particular conditions. So the content of the exam varies so much. Now, first off, when you're coming to any clinical examination, there are some tools, there are some instruments that you should bring to the exam. And that's the first thing I'm going to tell you. So you come along with your stet, your pen touch, your tuning fork, a whisk of cotton wool, for your toothpick, your tape rule, and a ruler. These are just the standard things you bring for every clinical examination. And in an OSCE, you should bring all of them. What betides you for you to go to a station that requires you to check, for example, for Rene's test or Weber's test, and you don't have a tuning fork, you already begin to lose marks. So coming with your instrument is the first step for every clinical exam, especially your OSCE. Now, the next thing I'm going to tell you about OSCEs generally and clinical exams also is that you have to be calm. You have to be calm. I know it's exam mode. Adrenaline is high, cortisol is high. You are trying to, put yourself together, and then your heart rate is high and all that. But somewhere along the line, I need you to be calm, because being calm is going to help you to remember more. And even the mark allocated for coordination you will get those marks for for coordination. So you should have to be calm and reduce the your clumsiness in the exam, so that you're not trying to remove your tape and then all the content of your pocket falls out, like your patella hammer and all that, and you're trying to pick it, and before you know, like, time goes. Now that brings me to time. Your exam is going to involve, it can be as small as 10 stations or as much as 30 stations. There will be rest stations in between. Some of the stations will be validation stations, some of them will be procedure, some of them require you to clerk or do examinations. So that is the various content of the examination. Now, for example, in an exam hall, this is a simple station that can come to any student. For example, take the vital signs of this patient. Now, in the days of mercury in glass thermometer, when you go to that kind of station, the first thing you do is to put your thermometer in the armpit of that patient, so that it starts, you already start buying time there, because you need to be there for at least 1 or 2 minutes. So by the time you are counting your heart rate and respiratory rate, you already buy time. So this is a way for you to save time in the exam. So look at the most complicated or the process that's going to take much time, and start it first, and then you can do the other tiny procedures during the course of when that particular process is reading. I hope you understand what I'm saying, which is going to lead me to another important point. Watch out for the small things. In the exam, we prepare for really big things, really large things, and some of the time, those large things that we might prepare for might not even actually come out. But the simple things, the common things, are what you should watch out for, especially in your OSCE. So, for example, you might not just screening your patient. If you don't know how to work the screen, you're already in trouble, because time will be going already. If you don't know, putting on a glove before a procedure, for example, check the PCV, check the hematocrit of this in this capillary tube, and you have 3 minutes, for example, typically, because your OSCE is going to last from 3 to 5 minutes. Now, just putting on the glove might take you so long that you might not even have enough time to. So the small things, arranging the bed, putting the patient in a cardiac position, how to walk the bed to be able to, bring it to a 45-degree angle. Those small things are what might even take more time, and might be your pitfall in the exam. So watch out for the things that you might ignore. Screening your patient, putting on your glove, walking the bed. Those are the small things that might actually, or even tying the cuff of your sphic around the patient, might be what will take you extra time. Not necessarily the highfalutin stuff that you might be expecting generally. Another important point you should watch out for is the wrong lines of questioning. So your simulator already has what he's supposed to simulate. So by the time you start asking questions and your simulator does not have response to those kind of questions, it is only logical for you to desist from those line of questioning. And then if you're asking questions on cuff and he's just staring at you, then switch it and start asking other questions, so that because you know that you have to disembark from that part, because obviously there are no marks that are going to be allotted, which is going to lead me to the next thing I'm going to tell you. Some examiners and some simulators, in a bid to try to help you, might distract you. You remember that story about the king who was supposed to save his village if he's going to take a glass of water and walk on the straight line around his village? It's not those who are cheering you or those who are discouraging you that will be your problem. Your problem is to concentrate on the glass of water so you don't spill any drop. And the same goes for your exam. Concentrate, just do what you are doing, because in trying to get the clues, those innuendos from the patient, that's when you might, from the simulator, that's when you might miss your line of questioning and start going the wrong path, and you will go down the wrong path, and unfortunately it's an OSCE exam. So you might go far down the wrong lane before you even know that you are on the wrong lane. So just focus and don't be distracted by the examiner or the simulator. Just focus and do what you came to do. And that is what's going to remind me. Some people will tell you to watch the examiner if he's ticking. That if he's ticking, that means you are doing the right thing. But just watching the examiner is really enough distraction, and there's enough information in your head that you have to organize and already deliver. So I think you should forget about the examiner, forget about the simulator, and do what you are supposed to do. And let me also say that you have to watch for some of the answers that the simulator is giving you when you are clerking, for example, in the clerking station, because there might be other stations that will require you to validate what you have asked in the last question. For example, how many children this woman had, and then the next question the next station might be describe what is the gravidity or the parity of that patient. So you also be attentive. Don't just be don't let it not be a monologue. Also allow for the simulator to answer their question. It's your exam. What I mean by that is you have to own the exam. So if the patient is lying down, you are right-handed, you want to stay by the right hand of the patient, then make sure you adjust the patient so that you are on the right hand of the patient, because those things would count. If there is a sanitizer there on the table, you have to use it. Then by all means use it. If there's a screen, use it. So make sure you own the exam. If the patient is not well positioned, position the patient and then examine the patient. I've been in an OSCE exam before where we're supposed to do a cardiac examination, a CVS examination, and the examiner, after each candidate, takes the bother to put the patient back in a supine position. So every candidate, putting the patient in a cardiac position is part of the mark. So own the exam. It's better to overshoot than to undershoot in any clinical examination. So you should. Lastly, and this is on a very personal note, you have to know when. So let's say your exam is 30 stations, and for the last 5 stations you have been behind, and then trying to catch up, and the rest station is not enough for you to recover what you have to write. You have to know when you get to a particular station. Ignore the questions in that station and use the time to answer the questions that you have been, the backlog of answers that you have not written before you forget the question. So it's going to come to a time where you're actually going to make a sacrifice, where you are going to ignore one particular station, use the time to answer questions to which you know the answers to, but you had no time, so that you can, have a smooth exam. So all in all, don't forget to weigh what the exam is about. Own the exam, be calm, be confident, and you will have a smooth stay. Thank you very much for watching. There will be other videos that will discuss examination, clerking in an OSCE situation, and if you have not, you should try to see that, so that you can have a very good experience, and you can share this video with your classmates if you enjoyed it. Cheers.